Okay, I realized that actually me writing helps a lot better with kind of like getting my thoughts out and things like that. So I wanted to just come on here and just talk for a second about some things that have been in my mind circling. So I was talking about this to myself, you know, to myself, and I was like, I think the problem is we are so focused on what we don't want and how there's so much bad, right? We see all the time that same thing being circulated throughout our lives. We go on social media, we see so much toxicity, and though we don't want it, we are addicted to it, right? Because it's something that feeds us at a certain point when we were younger that probably kept us safe. We probably had like, toxic dynamics in our family, and where your parents couldn't express their love, right, because they were dealing with their own childhood trauma, and that manifested into them either trying to run away from that or trying to be better, and then end up just recirculating in another way that they damage you in the process, or just accepting that as truth and then still damaging you in the process. So however that situation and that toxicity manifests in your life, we all have been through it. So a lot of the times we become addicted to that because that was our first form of validation, security, anything of love or whatever it was that we searched for. So we kind of go back to that. So if we grew up in a house that was chaotic and I had to do so much to get the attention and the security and my needs met, I am going to seek that outwardly, even though I may consciously be aware that that is toxic and I don't want that. My body still is connecting to that this is what safety is and this is what I need to do. So a lot of times we may go, got a little message, but a lot of times we still are programmed internally to still go to these things that we know that we don't want consciously. And it is something that is about like reprogramming yourself and then get it in alignment with that. And then you will be able to kind of like, scratch that and go from there. So the thing that I'm realizing is that, yeah, beyond focusing on what we don't want. So if we don't want toxic cycles to begin, we have to stop talking about the toxic cycles. So if we are in the toxic relationship, the toxic friendship dynamics, the toxic jobs, the toxic, just workplace and just all our environment, if that's what we're constantly talking about, if this world is so toxic, you can't keep focused on the toxicity because all is you're going to always see is toxicity. You're going to be heightened to seeing toxicity because that's what's familiar. If I see something that I know what that name is. If I see an animal I've never seen before, I'm not going to be quick to go over there to that animal or even be aware of what that is. But if I go to something, if I see an animal that I know of, it's like, oh, okay, I can name that animal. I know a little bit about that animal, so I know, how to maneuver. But because we are so stuck in these same cycles of we don't understand what is going on internally within us, we are still pushing out more of what we don't want. And I had to like really sit with this because I was like, it is so crazy how we are so attached to social media showing us reality when you go outside of that world. And there are so many people that have encountered you today. There are so many people who have been a direct reflection of God that you haven't even realized, right? So there's so many people who gave you a smile, who said thank you, who said you look nice, who said, ooh, girl, I love that shirt, or dang, bro, them shoes nice, where you get them from? And you had a small conversation and you just connected and you just vibed a little higher. But you ignored that because somebody texted you and showed you a picture of dude who you beef with before and how he's saying da 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 da, or how old girl who was talking to the same dude that you was talking to, how she said that I always be taking these girls' men. And it was like, you focused on that, but it was 20 other beautiful things of how people are not toxic, how people are these loving beings and how they care for that, but you went to, these people in your life who did not love you the way that you feel like you should be loved on, or did not respect you. But there was a person who said, "Oh, excuse me," showing you respect. There was a person who said, "Oh, I'm sorry, did I cut you? I didn't mean to cut you. Hey, sorry, I didn't see you right there. Hey, you could go ahead and go in front of me." And you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, thank you." You didn't pay any attention to that. You wasn't even tapped into how God is showing you throughout life how beautiful life really is. And you're so focused on the bad in it, the darkness in it, and you're so focused on this way, in this one way of how what you want in life will manifest. You have to tap into that frequency to even realize that. And that is what God is like constantly showing throughout the universe. If you ask for a thing, if you're asking for a healthy relationship, well, what is a healthy relationship? Well, that, cashier that you see daily, that you always got an attitude with, well, have a better relationship with that. So now you get to show up and you see this cashier, and this cashier has a better attitude, but you don't even focus on that because you're so focused on it manifesting like this. You're so focused on why are you always agitated when you go there? Why is always something happening right before you go to the gas station to see this lady, and then the lady always have an attitude, but you're learning how to have healthy relationships. But you want that to manifest in a partner. Well, first, I'm going to show you somebody who you encounter daily. How you going to be able to handle a relationship, a healthy relationship, if you can't handle this healthy relationship with this person who you encounter daily? How can you understand what it is when it happens with yourself, when you don't have a nice, healthy relationship with yourself? You see yourself and you're with yourself literally all the time, and you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself. Well, I'm going to reflect that back to you, what is going on internally. And because we are not tapped into the frequency of understanding that, a lot of us, we are still in that unconscious phase of really being so in the world, so into our physical bodies, that we don't truly understand that, hey, what is actually happening, beyond what I'm seeing? What is the deeper messages behind this? And I was always kind of like that person who wanted to know deeper, like why? That kid where you're like, the parent don't know the answer, because it's like, first of all, shut up, go in a room, go sit down somewhere. Like, I don't care, get out my face. But beyond that, the parent's like, I really don't have the answer, so I don't really know. But it was all of this and all of these ways that I started realizing how God was showing me how to have a better relationship. And mine, for me, was always a relationship with myself and how I was treating myself, because I was so tapped in, and I kind of grew up in this idea of like having a better relationship with everybody else and doing for everybody else, but not caring for yourself. And so as I was seeing that kind of manifest, I saw that manifesting in like my family dynamics of like more so partners and like friendships. They were like super there, but the people who would be the direct correlation to kind of like you, or even some family, like it was just like you would do anything for everybody else, but when it comes time to like actually healing and taking care of yourself, whether that be your mental health, your spiritual health, or your physical health, your emotional health, or whatever it meant, it was like, I am not paying attention to that. I'm not really, gonna take care of myself. So that manifested for me as me always seeking outwardly for answers. I want, to make sure that everybody knows I'm a good person. So I'm going to always take care of people. But I was still feeling stuck and empty on the inside. And that was because of the simple fact of what I was telling myself constantly. What I was constantly feeding myself was that I do not care about my own inner voice. I do not care about the things that I need. And I was willing to put anybody above me. So that made it like the world was bad and the world was this horrible place, but all the world was showing me was how I really am, that I don't take care of myself, that I don't pour into myself, and I always just do it outwardly. So it made sense that I kept meeting people who will always put other people over me, because I was doing the exact same thing. And instead of us taking a deeper dive of like why we're attracting these people, we like to just view the world as this bad place, as everybody's bad. And it's just like, no, that person did a bad thing. Maybe in that season, that person was supposed to be a bad thing. Everybody's not going to have it together. And I bet if I pulled everybody's little life history, somebody is going to not think you are a good person. There is somebody out there who don't believe that you're a good person, because at some point, maybe in that version of yourself, you were not a good person. You are not this ideal person who you are now. You are not this person who had it all together, had it figured out. You spazzed out. You got mad. You got upset. You yelled. You lied. Whatever it was that you did that, was not good, you did it in that season, and now they're carrying this like you're a bad person, you're a bad person, you're a bad person. But if you let that get to you and you let that feed you, then you will become a bad person. You will live in your darkness instead of living in your truth and in your light and in the epitome of love, right? But because we are so pushing that out, we are pushing that people can't have red flags. That if you have red flags, no, you're a horrible person. No, you having red flags is an indicator of that I am human and I am still growing and evolving, and I still have the opportunity to do that. So when you meet people who have red flags, it's up to you to first acknowledge that they do, and tap into yourself. Well, is this something mirroring back to me, or is this something separate from me and that is them? If it's something that is them, communicate. Talk about these things. But if nobody is really kind of telling you about your red flags, everybody just like, I want to step away. And then the people who don't step away, they are like confirming to you that it is okay to be that. So if you are a cheater and people continue to allow you to cheat, people still allow you to be in these relationships, like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to cheat back. I'm not going to leave you, because we all are just so like, I just want to be in a relationship. But nobody is telling you that like, oh, ideally, I won't accept it. Even though you're saying it, your actions are saying, I will accept it. That person won't know. And if you have that communication, it's not saying to be the martyr in things, because we're not here to, ideally be the martyr and just to, oh my gosh, I have to die and save everybody. It's like, no, I'm going to acknowledge this. And some people, once you tell them, they're like, nobody has ever told me that. Now, how do I work on that? You don't have to stay and allow somebody to heal and to work with them through all of that. But it is something that some people will put in the work once they know what work they need to put in. Some people, sometimes there are still some things, at a certain point, it is okay to be a certain way. Like at some point, you have to do your own healing. You have to acknowledge your own things. But at the same time, express that to people. Give people grace and compassion. And it's not at the detriment of you. It's just saying, you know what, you are human. Now, I don't want to deal with that mess, because that's your mess and that's for you to take on. But I still see you and I understand you. And all I can do is to be a good friend. I can still have my boundaries. I can still choose to cut you off, because still being a good friend doesn't mean that I have to be in your life. That just means I see you and I still love you unconditionally. And I'm going to send you on your way to allow you to be that, instead of wanting to just pin you down and see so much bad in the world. There's so much good happening. There's so much beautiful things. The baby smiling. The baby waved at you. You didn't wave back. The baby was happy to see you. The baby was showing you, hey, there's good out here. All of these things that was happening behind the scenes, but you weren't tapped into the frequency of seeing that, because you're so tapped into the frequency of wanting to see so many horrible things. You are tapped into the frequency of social media showing you that there are no good in the world. There are plenty of men who are out here who, like I said it before, they're not cheaters. There are plenty of men and women who are out here who are great individuals, who don't want to play games, who are looking for something serious, who are really going to value you and love you and appreciate you, whether that is whatever it is for. If you are looking for that deep friendship, there are plenty of friends who are out here who are like, I am craving and I want that too. I want that deep connection. And there are people who are out here who still may be stuck in a dark place, and they still need grace too. Once again, that is not at the detriment of you, but it is nice because we're all connected to be like, you know what, I choose each and every day to start seeing the good in the world. And when you start seeing the good in the world, you connect to the higher consciousness to start pushing more good in the world. But get off of social media because there is a lot of good that is actually in the world. Now, not saying you have to, once again, not saying you have to just delete and deactivate and just be off of socials for the rest of your life, but it's good to tap in to be so thankful and grateful for what is truly existing right here in your physical reality and not tapped into a virtual reality, because that is curated. Like I said in the other video, that is curated based off of what you interact with. It is curated to get to your emotional state, to put out more of that frequency of lack, poverty, struggle, hurt, heartache, like brokenness, just division, toxicity. It is more to push that out. But there is so much good. And I just challenge y'all to just do what I did and start seeing the good. Start seeing the beautiful world that there is out there. Even if you feel like you didn't see any good. Did you see a rainbow? Did you see a butterfly? Did you see a bird? Did you see animals just like kind of just doing their thing, the water flowing? Did you see somebody vibing to their own music and just seeing all these beautiful ways and manifestations of God through this earth? Is such a beautiful thing if you tap into the frequency and get off the frequency of that there is no good in the world, because there is plenty of good. Just as much bad, there is even more good. And I want y'all to remember that. Just as much bad, because I was finna, yeah. Just as much bad, there is just as much good, even more good out there. So all you have to do is pay attention to it, tap into the frequency of it, and just continue to raise those vibrations. Each and every day, focus on what you can see that is beautiful despite whatever life may throw at you. I mean, whatever. Focus on the good and watch how it started reflecting back to you more good, and more good starts coming in your life, and more good moments start coming into your life. Even if you just have one thing that you felt like is good that happened. Somebody gave you a bag and you needed a bag. Watch how God is always looking out. Watch how God is always showing you and showing you that he's here, and that, you know, everything is working for you and not against you. Watch all the ways that God is manifesting and showing you exactly what it is that you want. So I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.